Chapter 3, Icy Reunions. Holly's eyes widened, urgency sparking in their depths. We have to go. Now. She grabbed her coat, Jack doing the same, their movements mirroring the ticking clock in their minds. They rushed out of the bakery, the doors slamming shut behind them. The town square was a whirlwind of activity, but Holly and Jack cut through the chaos, their path clear and determined. They hurried past the carolers, their voices rising in a discordant chorus, the usual harmony disrupted by the night's events. Where are we going? Holly asked, her breath coming in quick puffs, visible in the chilly air. Jack's stride was sure, his eyes scanning the area. The ice skating pond. The alarm, it's coming from there. They veered off the main path, taking a shortcut through the candy cane forest. The striped trees towered above them, their peppermint scent sharp and invigorating. Holly's heart pounded in her chest, her senses heightened by the adrenaline and the fragment's lingering joy. The forest thinned, revealing the shimmering expanse of the magical ice skating pond. The surface was smooth as glass, reflecting the moonlight and the colorful strings of lights draped around the edge. But tonight, something was off. The lights flickered sporadically, casting eerie shadows on the ice. Holly stepped onto the pond, her boots echoing hollowly. She felt a hum beneath her feet, a pulsating energy that resonated with the fragment in her pocket. It's here, Jack. Somewhere. Jack joined her, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the area. There, he pointed towards the center of the pond. A faint glow emanated from beneath the ice, pulsing in time with the hum. They exchanged a look, then hurried towards the light. The ice was slick, but their steps were sure, driven by purpose. As they neared the center, the glow intensified, the hum growing louder. Suddenly, the ice beneath them cracked, a jagged line snaking out from the glow. Holly gasped, her arms flailing as she struggled to keep her balance. Jack reached out, his hand grasping hers, steadying her. Careful, he warned, his eyes never leaving the growing fissure. The ice groaned, the sound ominous in the otherwise silent night. The glow pulsed brighter, the hum reaching a fever pitch. Something was happening, and it wasn't good. Holly looked at Jack, her eyes reflecting the eerie light. We need to get to the fragment before it's too late. The ice groaned again, but Holly and Jack held their ground, their focus locked onto the pulsating glow. Suddenly, a figure swept past them, a blur of green and gold, executing a perfect figure eight on the ice. Jack stiffened, his eyes narrowing. Evergreen, he breathed, the name escaping like a secret. The skater came to a graceful halt a few feet away, his cloak settling around him in a shimmering cascade. Evergreen Frost was a mirror image of Jack, except for his golden hair and the mischievous glint in his eyes. Well, he drawled, a smirk playing on his lips. Look what the blizzard blew in. Jack's jaw tightened, his voice cool. What are you doing here, Evergreen? Evergreen chuckled, his breath misting in the cold air. Same as you, I imagine. Chasing after magical fragments, trying to save the day. His gaze flicked to Holly, his smirk deepening. And who's this? A new partner in crime? Holly stepped forward, her chin lifting. Holly Evergreen. And I'm not a partner in crime. I'm here to save Mary Hollow. Evergreen's eyebrows shot up. Evergreen? Really? He laughed, a sound like crackling ice. Jack, you've been busy. Jack's hands clenched at his sides, the air around him dropping a few degrees. This isn't the time, Evergreen. We need to get to the fragment before something worse happens. Evergreen's smile faded, his eyes hardening. Always the responsible one, aren't you, Jack? Never a moment for fun, never a thought for yourself. Jack's voice was a low growl. This isn't about fun, Evergreen. This is about protecting people. Something you wouldn't understand. Evergreen's eyes flashed, and he stepped closer, the ice cracking under his blades. You don't know what I understand, Jack. You left, remember? Left me to deal with everything. The tension between them was palpable, the air thick with unspoken words and old wounds. Holly stepped between them, her voice firm. We don't have time for this. Whatever happened between you two, it needs to wait. We have to work together. Evergreen looked at her, his expression unreadable. Then, with a sigh, he nodded. Fine. But don't think this is over, Jack. The ice beneath them groaned again, a harsh reminder of the urgency at hand. Holly looked between Jack and Evergreen, her expression resolute. We need to work together. Now, how do we get to the fragment? Jack's gaze flicked to Evergreen, a silent challenge. Evergreen rolled his eyes but nodded. Fine. I'll stabilize the ice. You two make a run for the fragment. Evergreen skated backwards, his hands weaving intricate patterns in the air. Frost spread out from his blades, reinforcing the cracking ice. The groaning subsided, replaced by a soft, crystalline hum. Holly turned to Jack, her eyes reflecting the pulsating glow beneath the ice. Ready? Jack nodded, his hand finding hers. Together, they stepped forward, their strides synchronized. The ice held, Evergreen's magic keeping it solid despite the growing pressure from below. As they neared the center, the glow intensified, casting their shadows long and stark behind them. Holly could feel the fragment's power, a soft, calming pulse that resonated with her own magic. She squeezed Jack's hand, her heart pounding in her chest. They reached the center, the ice now a thin barrier over the churning water below. The fragment, a shard of ice shaped like a dove, hovered just beneath the surface, its wings beating in slow motion. Holly knelt, her hand hovering over the ice. She could feel the fragment's power, a soothing coolness that seeped into her bones. She looked up at Jack, her eyes wide. It's the peace fragment. I can feel it. Jack crouched beside her, his breath misting in the cold air. Can you retrieve it? Holly nodded, her focus turning inward. She tapped into her own magic, the sweet, warm power of her baking spells merging with the cool tranquility of the fragment. The ice beneath her hand began to melt, a perfect circle widening to reveal the churning water below. The fragment rose, drawn to her magic. It hovered for a moment, its wings beating softly, before settling into her outstretched hand. The pulse of power intensified, then softened, merging with her own magic. Holly looked up, her eyes meeting Jack's. A soft smile played on her lips. We did it. Behind them, Evergreen let out a sigh, his shoulders slumping slightly. Great. Now can we get off this blasted pond before the ice decides to give way again? Holly and Jack shared a look, then nodded. As one, they turned, ready to make their way back to safety. But the ice beneath them had other plans. A sharp crack echoed through the air, and suddenly, they were falling, the world dissolving into a chaotic blur of cold and darkness. The ice shattered, plunging Holly, Jack, and Evergreen into the frigid waters below. Holly gasped, the shock of the cold stealing her breath. She kicked hard, her limbs heavy with the weight of her sodden clothes. Above her, the fractured ice glowed with an eerie light, the fragment's power pulsing through the water. Jack was a blur of motion beside her, his ice magic already at work. He carved a path through the water, crystalline walls rising around them, guiding them towards the surface. Evergreen, despite his initial surprise, was quick to react. He skated along the underside of the ice, his blades leaving trails of frost that reinforced Jack's makeshift tunnel. Holly's lungs burned, her body aching with the need for air. She focused on the light above, her arms and legs churning through the water. The tunnel seemed to stretch on forever, the surface impossibly far away. Suddenly, a groaning sound echoed through the water, the ice above them shifting ominously. A chunk of ice broke free, tumbling towards them. Holly's eyes widened, her heart pounding in her chest. Jack reacted instantly, his hands thrusting outwards. A wall of ice materialized, blocking the falling chunk. It shattered against the barrier, the impact sending shockwaves through the water. Holly was thrown back, her body slamming into the side of the tunnel. Evergreen skated towards her, his hand reaching out. "Holly!" His voice was muffled, the water distorting the sound. She grabbed his hand, her fingers clinging tightly as he pulled her back onto the path. They pushed on, the light above growing brighter. Holly's lungs screamed for air, black spots dancing at the edges of her vision. Just as she thought she couldn't hold out any longer, they broke through the surface, gasping for breath. The pond was a chaotic mess, the once smooth ice now a jagged landscape of floating chunks and treacherous gaps. The fragment's power had unleashed a storm of magical obstacles, icicles raining down from above, snow globes materializing out of thin air, their enchantments sending out blasts of cold and light. Holly, Jack, and Evergreen huddled together, their breaths misting in the frigid air. The ice beneath them groaned, a deep rumble that resonated through their bodies. Holly looked around, her eyes wide with alarm. "We need to get out of here. Now." Jack nodded, his gaze scanning the chaos. "Follow me. Stay close, stay alert." They set off, their movements synchronized, their senses on high alert. Ice shards whizzed past them, embedded with flickering lights that exploded on impact, sending out showers of sparks. Holly ducked, her heart pounding as a shard narrowly missed her, its explosion sending a wave of heat washing over her. Evergreen skated ahead, his blades carving a path through the chaos. He spun, his cloak flaring out, deflecting a barrage of icicles. Jack followed, his hands weaving intricate patterns, walls of ice rising to block the oncoming projectiles. Holly brought up the rear, her hands glowing with a soft, warm light. She focused her magic, the air around her filling with the scent of gingerbread and sugar. She thrust her hands out, sending forth a wave of magical energy. The enchanted sweets materialized in midair, intercepting the incoming obstacles, neutralizing their magic with bursts of sweet, sparkling light. They dodged and weaved, their path a zigzag of quick turns and sudden stops. The ice beneath them shifted constantly, gaps opening and closing, forcing them to jump, slide, and skate in a desperate dance of survival. An icicle the size of a small tree crashed down in front of them, blocking their path. Jack's hands flew up, a wall of ice rising to meet the falling projectile. The impact sent a shockwave rippling outwards, the ice beneath them cracking and groaning. Holly looked around, her heart sinking as she realized they were surrounded. Icicles, snow globes, and enchanted sweets littered the ice, their combined magic creating a barrier of chaos and destruction. She turned to Jack, her eyes reflecting the frenzied lights. "What now?" Jack's jaw tightened, his gaze flicking between the obstacles. "We fight. Together." Evergreen skated to their side, his eyes gleaming with determination. "For Merry Hollow." Holly, Jack, and Evergreen fought side by side, their magic intertwining, creating a dance of light and ice against the chaotic backdrop. Just as they seemed to gain the upper hand, Evergreen suddenly vanished, his cloak fluttering to the ground like a discarded shadow. Jack faltered, his ice wall crumbling as he spun around, searching. "Evergreen?" His voice echoed, a desperate call swallowed by the storm. Holly steadied him, her hand on his arm. "Jack, we have to keep moving." She scanned the area, her senses on high alert. No sign of Evergreen, only the relentless barrage of enchanted obstacles. They fought their way back to the shore, the ice groaning and cracking beneath them. As they reached solid ground, Jack looked back, his eyes filled with worry. "He's gone. Again." Holly touched his cheek, her glove warm against his cool skin. "We'll find him. But first, we need to get back to town. Regroup." Jack nodded, his jaw tight. They trudged through the snow, the town square coming into view, a beacon of light and warmth amidst the chaos. The magical assault had subsided, the fragment's powers seemingly exhausted for now. Holly broke the silence, her voice gentle yet firm. We need a plan. The fragments are scattered, and now Evergreen's disappearance, it's all connected. Jack's gaze was distant, his mind clearly racing. Evergreen wouldn't just leave. Not like this. Holly squeezed his hand, her voice reassuring. We'll figure it out. Together. Let's go back to the bakery, gather our thoughts. Maybe there's something in your research, a clue we missed. Jack looked at her, his eyes reflecting the town's lights. You're right. We need to strategize. And I need to tell you about Evergreen, about our past. Holly nodded, her expression softening. I'm here to listen, Jack. Whatever you need. They walked in silence, their strides synchronized. The town was quieter now, the earlier panic subsiding into an uneasy calm. As they reached the bakery, Holly paused, her hand on the door. We'll find him, Jack. And we'll fix this. Mary Hollow needs us. Jack managed a small smile, his eyes meeting hers. With you by my side, Holly, I believe anything is possible. They stepped inside, the warmth of the bakery enveloping them, a stark contrast to the cold chaos outside. The scent of gingerbread and sugar filled the air, a comforting reminder of Holly's magic. As the door closed behind them, they prepared to face the challenges ahead, their bond stronger than ever.